DOJ can take a hike. Jena Griswold rejects federal demand for voter data. Although this is my favorite photo of Jena Griswold, I bet and I know for a fact my new favorite photo of Jena Griswold will be her in an orange jumpsuit because she is a criminal. But let's get into it here, folks. From Jen Schumann from the Rocky Mountain Voice. Colorado Secretary of State Jena Griswold escalated her standoff with the Trump administration this week, rejecting a request for the state's full unredacted voter file. Quote, "We will not comply with the Trump Department of Justice request for Coloradans' sensitive voting information. The DOJ can take a hike. It does not have legal right to the information. Colorado will not help Donald Trump undermine our elections and hurt the American people." To be honest, I think she's got more to hide. She's hiding whatever her Secretary of State office is doing with the voter data, with the voter rolls, and we're about to get into that. The numbers ain't adding up, folks. The numbers are not adding up. For what it's worth, Jena Griswold and the Secretary of State and what she's been doing here, she is actually using the automatic voter registration here at the DMV ever since 2013. Colorado has been using the DMV, the Department of Motor Vehicles, to automatically register residents to vote. Colorado's refusal comes as the DOJ expands lawsuits into at least 14 states for denying similar requests. Those suits outline why the DOJ says it needs its full data. In Minnesota, the federal offices are asking the judge to order a state to produce its entire statewide voter file with all fields, including active and inactive voters, full names, date of birth, driver's license numbers, and the last four digits of Social Security number. The voter data that Jena Griswold is saying that the DOJ doesn't have access to is exactly what's publicly available now. I believe the DOJ is wanting inactive and active voter data, as well as the illegal immigrants who are on the voter rolls. They are registering illegal immigrants in the voter data. The illegal immigrants get driver's licenses through the DMV, and they become automatically registered to vote, and they actually have to opt out of being a voter. The Department of Justice sued the state of Minnesota seeking an entire statewide voter registration list. This will include all illegal aliens living in Minnesota who have been fraudulently registered to vote. This is exactly what's happening here in Colorado right now. This is the next escalation, is lawsuits from the DOJ suing the states. And you can see right here in Minnesota, they're suing the state of Minnesota for the full voter data. They're also doing the same in North Carolina. North Carolina finds non-citizen registrations during the federal probe. In North Carolina, a federal inquiry uncovered multiple non-citizens on the voter rolls. Oh, you don't say. For some years. According to a WBTV investigation, affected individuals said they had no idea they were registered. Records show a U.S. attorney pressed the DMV after it claimed found, quote, no systemic issues, even as internal review pointed to staff checking wrong boxes on citizen forms. State election officials are now asking the DMV to hand over full Social Security numbers so they can run a deeper check on the rolls. This is what's happening in Colorado. This is why the DOJ is asking for full data information from the Colorado voter rolls. They need to compare and contrast Social Security numbers, voter data from registered and unregistered, maybe deceased members. We're talking so much backlog in the voter data, it's sickening. So this is why the DOJ is doing what it's doing, and not just Colorado, but states across the country. The North Carolina DMV is being enforced to overhaul its voter registration system after officials uncovered that multiple non-citizens were registered to vote. Wow. It's almost like it's systemic flaw in these Democrat-operated cities, right? Or North Carolina, arguably more red, but you know as well as I do that Secretary of State, AGs, they get into these positions. Democrat legislators pass these laws. This is how the system operates. They get progressive legislators to pass and write ridiculous laws that undermine and circumvent the federal government laws. They automatically register illegal immigrants to vote through the DMV, and it's happening across the country. Michigan grapples with major registration discrepancies. Michigan's facing its own questions as Senator Ruth Johnson said 36% of last year's new registrations had invalid 4-digit Social Security numbers, but were accepted anyways. You don't say. She also pointed to numbers showing that Michigan has about 500,000 more people on the voter rolls than residents of voting age. Critics argue that Secretary of State Jolyn Benson has passed voter information to a range of nonprofit groups. This is what's happening, folks, nationwide. This is the Democrat modus operandi. Pennsylvania and Rhode Island.
And in this case, there was a a decision up in the Third Circuit, which oversees Pennsylvania, that prevented a great group that does great election law work as well, the Public Interest Legal Foundation. I encourage you to look them up, and they're a nonprofit public interest law firm dedicated to election integrity. And they had sued for access to Pennsylvania voter rolls following a failure to disclose an estimated 100,000 non-citizen registered voters. Pennsylvania officials reportedly admitted that for decades, the Department of Motor Vehicles had allowed non-U.S. citizens to register to vote through the state's motor voter bill or system. So you go in, you get a driver's license, which they were giving, I guess, to non-citizens. Remember, it's not just illegal aliens who can't vote in federal elections. It's also aliens. People, if you're not a citizen, you can't vote, even if you're here otherwise legally. So I guess they were letting these non-citizens apply and get voter registration.
We are also talking about non-citizens who are here legally, whether it's through work visas or temporary immigrant status. They get temporary Social Security numbers or a personal identification number, right? It's not a Social Security number, but they have a number that they use like a Social Security number. They go into the DMV, they get registered through the DMV, and Colorado, along with Pennsylvania and many other states, are doing this, and non-citizens are automatically registered on the voter rolls. And then these people, unknowingly, unwillingly, are part of the voter data system. As simple as that. Arguably, we're going to see one of the most corrupt voter roll data systems in the country from Colorado. Mark my words. Jena Griswold tried to keep Trump off the ballot in 2024. Jena Griswold was face smacked by the Supreme Court in a 9-0 decision against her, taking it up to the Supreme Court. She's a disgrace, folks. Griswold urges the DOJ request threatens voter privacy, but Colorado has faced its own registration controversies. In 2022, her office mailed 31,000 postcards to non-citizens, encouraging them to register because of an ERIC data mismatch with the state's driver's license systems. Correction notices were sent, and the state blocked those individuals from using the online registration system. County clerks asked for the list of recipients, but Deputy Secretary Christopher Beal said the office could not share it due to, quote, potential legal issues. That's what they say every time. That's what Jena Griswold's saying right now against the DOJ. Privacy concerns, public privacy information, right? The office says it's now safeguarding against automatic registration attempts using the non-citizen driver's license, but past errors have raised concerns amongst outside watchdogs. Public Interest Legal Foundation and Judicial Watch have both sued the state for access to list maintenance records. Judicial Watch's case revealed the state had reported an incorrect removal numbers during discovery. Last month, Douglas Frank highlighted Mesa County as an example. Oh, it's Mesa County. Mesa County. What else happened in Mesa County? Tina Peters happened in Mesa County, okay? Tina Peters was in Mesa County, and all of this so much ties back to Mesa County. It's wild, folks. There is so much corruption and deceit and manipulation happening in Colorado. It's sickening. We got to let people know about this. Share this video. Give me a thumbs up. Let me know that you are sharing this information, because it has to get out. Because people still live in this delusion that Colorado election integrity is beautiful and perfect, right? Jena Griswold pulpits it again and again. Gold standard. Colorado has a gold standard of election integrity. See, they repeat the lie long enough that stupid people just believe it. Well, I'm not a stupid person. I'm going to continue questioning. I'm going to continue pressing this corruption and opening the doors of deceit. Because that's what's happening right now. You get corrupt people in positions of power who are going to continue to rig and game the system. Jena Griswold is doing that exact thing. Jena Griswold is arguably one of the worst Secretary of States in the country, because she is so adamantly against the Department of Justice and the Trump administration. Judicial Watch sued Colorado in 2020, and the case was finally settled in 2023. As a part of the settlement, Colorado agreed to clean up their voter roll. Obviously, they aren't. As the example from Mesa County illustrates, the state claims that they are removing voters, and they are, but they fail to mention that they are adding back more voters than they are actually removing. The fact that the voter rolls in the state of Colorado are out of compliance with the state and federal law empowers Colorado counties to opt out of the state voter roll system. Judicial Watch victory. Colorado agrees to settle lawsuit over ineligible voters agrees to extensive reporting and review of voter roll cleanup effort. This was from March 30th, 2023. This was years ago, folks. You guys remember this? I don't remember this. And that's the thing that's the problem that happens, is that so much of this information gets pushed under the rug because they don't want you to know how corrupt the system is in Colorado. This is a graph spanning 2 decades roughly. Election history for Mesa County, Colorado. You got the blue line is 18 and up population. The black line is registered voters. And the red line are voters who actually voted. Now take a look. What do you see in this graph? What is interesting about this graph? What is really interesting about this graph? I'm gonna address Exhibit A right here. This huge spike in registered voters. Okay, registered voters right here. What possibly could have happened in those few years? HB 1303, Voter Access and Modernized Election Act. The bill is compliance with various changes to the Uniform Election Code of 1992. Residency, currently to be eligible, registered to vote, most persons have resided. So it talks about the registration effects. It passed in 2013. Well, it was the 2012. It was the 2012 legislation process, but it went into effect in 2013. Registration. Under current law, voter registration must be effected no later than 29 days before an election to a person who cast a ballot in that election. The bill expands the timeline during which a person may register to vote in an election and describes the deadlines associated with various methods of voter registration. Specifically, a person may register by submitting voter registration application through the mail, voter registration agency, or voter registration drive, appear in person or at his county clerk and recorder's office when registration is permitted, applying via a local driver license examination facility or through the online voter registration system maintained by the Secretary of State through 8 days prior to an election. We got a spike in 2013 of registered voters because of the DMV automatic voter registration process in Colorado. But what this graph is actually showing is this top right corner over here, where the registered voters exceed the 18 and up population. Do you see that over there? Do you see that little red chart over here? 106% of voting age population registered. Now you tell me, you answer me, how does that happen? And I'll play devil's advocate. I'll be honest with you. In my opinion, there's 2 ways that happens. It happens by pre-registering voters under the age of 18. So if you are going through the DMV and you get your driver's license and you're 16 or 17, they might pre-register you to vote, and that might be getting added into this data. Sure, that might be a possibility in why you have more registered voters than actual 18 and up population. But it's actually just illegal immigrants or undocumented immigrants or non-U.S. citizens that are being registered to vote. So you've got discrepancies here, folks. Discrepancies are rampant here in Colorado. The DOJ is just going to have to sue the state of Colorado to get the voter data, to get the voter access. The actual one that they're going to be using, I did cite the source in my prior Jena Griswold post a couple days ago, but the National Voter Registration Act of 1993, the NVRA, 52 U.S.C. 20501, enacted to streamline voter registration to ensure accurate lists. The NVRA requires the state conduct regular voter list maintenance, removing ineligible voters like deceased or non-residents, and responding to federal enforcement inquiries. That's the main angle that they're going to come at with this. And there's like several different things they could use. They can use the Help America Voter Act, the HAVA Act, Title 52 U.S.C. 20901. I've also referenced that one. Civil Rights Act of 1960, Voter Rights Act of 65. So there's lots of legal precedent that the DOJ can use when they sue Colorado. And it is going to happen. Given the DOJ's pattern, suits against Delaware, Maryland, and others, Colorado faces imminent litigation if Griswold persists. Griswold could counter with a Privacy Act or 10th Amendment arguments, but federal preemption is likely to prevail in court. That's what you got there, folks. That is what's going on with the disgusting Jena Griswold piece of trash.